This is who I really am, guys. This is the real me. I wish someone could literally count how many takes it's been. Will this be the one? I don't know. Please be nice to me. This is the look. This is the look. This is the face of somebody who has tried to film the intro to this video so many times. I want to cry. I just need to disclaim this before we even get into anything. Me and words today are not friends. I am not able to speak coherent sentences for some reason. We just need to let this be the messy chaos that it is and just push through so that I can finally talk to you about the books I read. Oh my gosh! I didn't film last week because I did not have time, and it's like I forgot how to speak to a camera, and I forgot how to do this. Hi guys. That was so Aussie. No, moving on. That literally made me feel like Steve Irwin or something. G'day mate, welcome back. Anyway, hi, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. I'm Ash, and if you have returned, thank you so much. It's so great to have you here. Today I just want to talk about the 6 books I've read in Feb. I just want to talk about these books, and just feels like it's like the most impossible task today, but I'm persevering. This is happening. You are going to hear about it. You just be sat, please, get a drink. Make sure you're comfortable. So, I read 6 books in Feb, and this is my sad little stack here because I actually read only 2 physical books. That gives it away. You're not supposed to know what they are until I show you. So I read 6 books in Feb, and only 2 of them were physical, and the rest were either on my Kindle or I audiobooked them. So, is that a word? I audiobooked it. Whatever. So I will tell you a bit about each of them and my ratings, and we're gonna get through this. We're gonna get through this video. Okay, let's do it. So I started the month off with a crime book because I was trying to get myself out of a slump. And for context, at the end of Jan, I finished reading Onyx Storm. It wasn't the kind of slump where it was like, that was such a terrible book and I don't want to read any books and I've got beef with books. It was the kind of slump where Onyx Storm just took so much out of me emotionally. Like, I gave so much to that book, and I just felt like I couldn't, in good conscience, give any other books a go at that stage. So what I do when I'm in that kind of state is I usually switch genres, and I feel like the best genre to read in a slump is crime because it's so quick and it's so fast paced. I basically started Feb trying to get myself out of like a reading slump. I ended up choosing, and this is one of the ones on my Kindle, The Switch by Lily Sampson. And this didn't work. I did not particularly enjoy this book. It was kind of disturbing, made me feel quite uncomfortable. I work at a bookstore, and a customer recommended this to me, and they did say it was a little unhinged, so they did warn me. But I kind of thought, like, the title kind of gives it away in a sense, but I, for some reason, thought that this switch situation was going to be like wives switching and like killing each other's husbands, like a kill for me, kill for you situation. But it was not. It's exactly what you're thinking that it was. And it just felt really yucky. So I rated this a 2-star. I got through it. So I got to the end because I feel like I thought that it must be leading to this grand finale where this like everything makes sense and there's like a good enough reason for why these things were happening, but the ending was the worst part. Essentially, if I was to like give you a summary of this book, a new couple move into a very like bougie upstate suburb in London, and they're house sitting for one of their friends, and they are kind of painted as your very average couple. They've been together for a while, they have fights like every other couple, they love each other, and it's just like their life is mediocre to them. And then one day she runs into the wife of the other couple, and they sort of strike up a friendship, and then that kind of grows, and then the wife of this other couple basically suggests switching husbands for a night. And at first, like, the main character is like, what? That's crazy. Like, why would we do that? but she has this weird attraction to the husband of this other woman, and so eventually she gives into those urges and she agrees to the switch. At this stage, I think that's just all you need to know. I kept reading because I was like, what is the purpose of these switches? There's got to be some kind of like reason, and there is, but it was just not good enough for me. It's not good enough to justify what happened, and it happens more than once. So yeah, anyway, that's all I'm going to say on that book. Moving on, it did not get me out of my slump. It didn't do what I needed it to do. And then I moved on to another crime book, again on my Kindle, and it was His and Hers by Alice Feeney. And this is actually on my 25 for 2025 list. I had heard great things about it. I was very excited to get this one, and I haven't read any Alice Feeney books. Well, obviously now I have, but like this was my first one, and I really enjoyed it. It was like exactly what I wanted the switch to be. It was a totally different and unique story I hadn't come across before, and I was so intrigued as to where the author was going with this, and the writing was fantastic. It was really good, and the twist at the end, like you guess the whole way through, you're like, it's this person, and then you don't know. And then even when you do know, it's still like, oh my gosh. I don't really know how to do summaries without spoiling details. So I'm gonna try my best, guys, but like I'm gonna probably keep it really vague. This book follows husband and wife who are divorced. So they went through something tragic and they got divorced, and it's years later, and the main female character is a news reporter and the main male character is a detective, and they met in high school, and like eventually like they got together. Then you flash forward to the present, so you're kind of going back and forth from past to present, and in the present currently there are these like mysterious deaths of people that were their mutual friends that they both went to high school with. And so obviously he's the detective on the case trying to figure it out, and she's involved as well the whole time. Like she's got secrets and he's got secrets, and you're like getting both points of view. And yeah, again, like I don't know, that does not do this book justice. I feel that that explanation is just kind of like, it's like, okay, why would I pick that up? Just trust me, okay? If you haven't read that book, I'm pretty sure it's on Kindle Unlimited as well, so bonus for that. Go and read that book and just please do yourself a favor. It was really good. I really enjoyed it. Did I even tell you my rating for His and Hers? I don't think I did. So I rated it a 4.5. It could almost be maybe a 4.75. Like the more I think about it, the more like I really enjoyed it, but there was something about it that just didn't get to a 5-star. So next I read The Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins, and if you have been living under a rock, maybe you haven't heard of this book, but honestly it just feels like it's everywhere all the time. Everybody's talking about it, and for good reason. I rated this 5 stars. I listened to it on Audible, and it was narrated by Mel herself, and it was such a nice touch. I can't, again, another one with words. I feel that everybody needs to read this book. Like it should be a book that is on the curriculum at every school. Such important concepts are covered in this book. It is just so powerful. This book is obviously personal development, self-help genre, and it's all about taking back your personal power. Instead of reacting to everybody and everything all the time, you take back your personal power by just letting adults be adults and taking responsibility for how you react to things. And like that is grossly oversimplifying the messages in this book. It goes into so many things. It talks about just like how do you apply the Let Them theory to not only personal like romantic relationships, but also with your kids, with your friends, with your colleagues, with your family, like in every situation, how you can use this theory. It was incredible. I could just rave about this, but essentially you just need to go and read it. So next I felt like switching genres, so I picked up a romance book, and I ended up reading Beach Read by Emily Henry. I'm in the process of reading all of Emily Henry's books, not in publication order. I'm so sorry. I feel like I should have done that, but I didn't. I'm almost reading them backwards, but also not, because when did this come out? 2020. I might be reading them in the opposite publication order. This book was fantastic. Like, I don't think at this stage that I will pick up an Emily Henry book and be disappointed or not have a good time. Her writing is just really beautiful and it really resonates with me. In the case of this book, I didn't actually relate to the storyline or the characters as much, and I still rated it a 4 stars. It was just the way she writes characters, they feel so real. There's so many emotions. So this book follows Gus and January, and essentially they're both writers. They write very different genres. Gus writes more like general fiction. He writes more like serious, somber books, and January is like a romance author and she writes a lot of happy ending romances. And the story plot essentially is that January's parents, there's like a sudden tragedy where her dad passes away, and then she discovers that this whole time he's kind of been living like a double secret life where he's been having an affair and like has this whole other house with her and this whole other life at the beach, down by the beach. And it's kind of just burst her bubble of happy endings and romance and love and the meaning of love. And essentially she's gone through this journey where she's written such amazing romances and love stories because she's seen growing up the most beautiful romance between her parents. And when that whole picture kind of comes crumbling down, she is really struggling with like, oh, like, is it all just a lie? And Gus is obviously like the opposite. He's like the grumpy, he's very pessimistic, and he doesn't really believe in love. And we find out later that he's actually been married before and he's had his heart broken, and there's like all this reason behind it. But they had like kind of like a rivalry. It's kind of like rivals to lovers, rivals to friends to lovers, I would say. And yeah, it's just really beautiful, the way it all comes together and everything like that. And what I think I love about Emily's books, plural, is that she uses real life scenarios. I think that sounds so obvious to say, but like I've read her books, and then things that happen in them, like the big tragedies, they happen in real life. Like they are things that happen to people. We don't hear about them all the time, but they happen. And it's just nice and refreshing to read about somebody going through those really tough times and then to end up like having a happy ending. Like it's almost making me emotional talking about it, because it's like what we see all the time is like romance books where, you know, the tragedies aren't that, like miscommunication or you know, enemies to lovers and like rivals or whatever like that. The situation that's causing tension is very low stakes. We don't often see cheating and divorce and affairs like of our parents and like going through that, or like grief and the death of somebody and how that can impact a relationship and stuff like that. And then see somebody go through all that and then come out the other end. And it's a really nice message, I feel like, about you can go through some of the toughest times in your life and still have some of the best days ahead of you. Wow, like why did that take such a dark turn? Like not a dark turn, but just such an emotional turn. It's the energy today, I'm telling you. Okay, then I ended up going back into fantasy. I picked up Kingdom of the Feared, which is the last book in the Kingdom of the Wicked trilogy. Is that what it's called? I don't even know. This is the final book, the third and final book, and I really wanted to love this. I think for a number of reasons it didn't hit as hard for me. I wonder whether, look, I have no plans to reread the series anytime soon, but maybe in the future I could dive back in and give this another go in a time where it's just not overshadowed by Onyx Storm. I half audiobooked it and read it. And I also wonder whether audiobooking fantasy books, if you know, you know, sometimes you can, but most of the time you can't audiobook a fantasy, because it just, either the voice acting takes away from the plot or makes the dialogue cringy, or you're just missing details, or the scenes don't hit as hard, or it's almost just becomes a bit too dramatic. And I don't know, when you're reading it, you don't have any of that. So I feel like maybe that's also a way I let this book down and this series down, is by half audiobooking, half reading it. But it was a 2.5 stars for me. I didn't hate the ending. I feel like 2.5, now that I think about it, is harsh. I feel like maybe it could even be a 3 because I read it. I was already invested in the characters. I actually ended up really enjoying more of the side characters in this last book. If you don't know, this series, it follows Kingdom of the Wicked, the first one. It follows 2 sisters. They are twins, and then in the first book, her twin is murdered, and it's like a big shocking mystery, and she's just trying to figure out who did it and what happens. And you sort of get some answers in the second book, and then you get the rest of the answers in this book. And it just, for me, felt a little rushed. It felt a little rushed. It felt a little bit like, it felt like the author was trying to shock me with too much and like pack in too many elements to this. Like, I think I would have been happy if she had have chosen like 3 main points and she really just thread this, what am I trying to say? She just sewed it in across 3 books and like really drove it home in the final book. But it just felt like, I don't know how else to put it other than the fact that it felt like our main female character had no goal, or she had too many goals. Like, you know, in a fantasy, it's like there is a beginning, a climax, and an ending. It felt as though our main female character had a goal, but she just constantly got distracted and didn't care about it and started completing all these little side quests that, to be honest, felt so unnecessary. Not the ending that I wanted. There were elements that I really enjoyed, but there were just also elements that I just could not get on board with, and I'm really upset about that because I know quite a lot of people who really enjoyed this series, and it just didn't hit as hard for me. But maybe years into the future, I could reach for the series again and have a much better time and strictly just read it. Okay, and then I ended the month with another crime because, like I said, like that kind of put me a little bit back into a slump with fantasy. So I ended up rereading. No, I didn't. I didn't reread. I ended up reading Rock, Paper, Scissors on my Kindle. So this is another Alice Feeney book, and it was another one on my 25 for 2025 list. And I just thought, well, I had such a great time with the first Alice Feeney book, I want to go back in and see what else she's got. And I did enjoy this book, not as much as His and Hers, I must say. I love though that like every book I've picked up of hers so far has had a very different plot that I haven't seen in crime, like very different elements, very different plot. I really enjoyed that. Again, the twists and turns I enjoyed. I did sort of spot one of the bigger twists kind of halfway through, so it wasn't as much of a surprise, and maybe that's kind of why, maybe I did read them too close together, I don't know, but I did spot like one of the major plot twists a little bit before it came out, and so it didn't hit as hard, but that was okay. Like, I was still like really impressed. So that book follows a husband and wife, and their marriage is on the rocks, and so it opens with them going on a trip, I don't even know where, to, oh, I just don't want to get it wrong, somewhere in Scotland? The Highlands. I know it's the Highlands, and I know that from Outlander. So somewhere there. They end up going on a trip, and from the wife's perspective, this is like their final chance to make their marriage work and like try and rekindle the spark. And then anyway, they end up getting there, and the whole reason they're there is because the wife won this like trip in a raffle from work, but she doesn't know who or why she won, and it was a bit cryptic, but she kind of just overlooked those details, and she just went, right, this is it, let's go, this sounds exciting. And he's kind of like, but wait, who sent you the tickets, and where did you get them from, and why did you win, and blah blah blah. And she's just like, oh yeah, like whatever, I don't know. And then they get there, and obviously somebody has intentionally organized for them to come because there are other plans going on. There are other wheels turning. There's a bigger game at play, and that is all I'll say. It was good. It was very entertaining. Again, it kind of hooked me in, a little slow to start, but it was really good. So that is all the books that I read in Feb. 6 books is honestly like a good, healthy reading month for me. I'm surprised we got here. I'm impressed. Minus the absolute chaos that was trying to intro this video. We did it. Give yourself a clap. I hope you enjoyed watching, and I hope you enjoyed yourself. I wanted to make this short and sweet, so hopefully I did that. I hope you enjoyed watching and listening to me yap about these books. Hopefully you got some recommendations. And if you've got any recommendations for me, you know where to put them. I hope you guys have a fantastic day and week ahead, and I will see you hopefully in the next video. Bye. Mwah.